Hi, we're coming to you from NAB, and we have the opportunity to stop by the suite that Irdeto has in Las Vegas for this event. And it gives us an opportunity to get into a discussion that is very appropriate to everything we're seeing elsewhere, which is fulfilling all the different distribution strategies coming out of the woodwork from everybody that's got some kind of content to offer in the marketplace, and how that gets protected in accord with all these different strategies. And there's no one better to address this than Richard Frankland, who's the Vice President for the Americas of Irdeto.
Very kind.
Thanks for taking time to speak with us, Richard.
You're very welcome.
Why don't we begin with kind of a look at what has happened here in the past year, 2 years, that has kind of broken all those traditional barriers between a certain type of content for a certain type of distribution environment required a certain type of protection, and another kind for another environment, another type of protection, et cetera. And how, you know, has this blurred to a point that it really comes down to everybody has a different need, and where you kind of have to work with everybody individually to figure out what all those needs are?
I definitely think there's some truth to that. I don't think that there is any one solution fits all, and I think that's been one of the big changes that we've seen in the last three to 5 years, is a move away from turnkey solutions that meet, you know, the predominant needs of all of the major operators, and each operator has a different set of requirements and a different set of needs that need to be addressed by different configuration, different architecture, different content security platform, and I think that's good for the industry, because I think it creates diversity rather than a more of a universal vanilla flavor that we might have had in the past. I think that's a problem for the vendor community, because I think there's a lot of vendors out there, and there's not necessarily significant market to go around for everyone.
It's kind of hard to invent a solution for every last situation unless you happen to have already got a bucket of solutions you can pull out of to solve a particular problem.
No, I think that's very true. So, I don't think anybody has that kind of, silver bullet, if you like, one solution that meets everybody's needs. And there are some companies that have tried to do that and tried to develop a solution that can be aggregated for, a group of customers, a group of operators. But I think that we're increasingly seeing some of those customers say, well, actually, we want to do things a little bit differently. And I think that's likely to drive over the coming years, or coming months even, a move towards their own bespoke solution.
I guess the biggest thing that we've seen coming on so strong in the past year or so has been the introduction of high value content live streamed over the web, either from the content providers themselves or from the operators as the intermediary, but certainly bringing with that a new level of threat from the standpoint of piracy, when you consider the high level of quality that's going out there over ever increasing broadband speeds, and also the need to accommodate a whole lot of different content owners' requirements in the online space that wasn't part of the original TV Everywhere domain at all. Can you talk about that and what you see some of the needs are in that space?
DRM has been a fundamental change, or I think a lot of operators have started to look towards DRM as a means of addressing, content delivery. But DRM's a rights management system. It's not necessarily encryption. So it might provide authentication to a subscriber, but it doesn't necessarily provide encryption of that content to that subscriber. So there's still a threat, even in platforms that are protected, I use that word loosely, by DRM. Mm-hmm. So I think, there's an increasing challenge to find solutions that actually provide flexible authentication for subscribers, such that a subscriber can view content on either live over a 24-hour period, download to own, but actually also provide some kind of encryption of that content so that it can't actually be pirated in the first place. So I think that's an important thing that needs to be addressed and needs to be looked at over the coming months, to afford those operators a better level of protection, to ensure that they are able to go back to the rights holders and demonstrate in their agreements that they can provide a suitable level of protection of the content they're licensing.
And that gets into also having to be able to do it around the formats that are out there and the devices and what have you. So it's the keys themselves and the key exchanges and the handling of the keys and all of those things become very challenging according to how the different app stores and devices are operating. How do you help these people get past these questions? I mean, is it really come down to implementing something that is a operator specific solution or a programmer specific solution based on what they're trying to do?
So I think there's some truth to the fact that that there's no one common solution for everyone, as we talked about at the beginning. And we can evolve the different security solutions that we have to meet the different needs of the customers. One of the things we're seeing is a desire by the operators to address and support multiple security clients. So rather than just having the traditional conditional access that they might have on their broadcast platform, now they're looking to find ways to enable devices to support different forms of DRM, both today and in the future. So in conceiving new content delivery or content consumption platforms, set-top boxes, tablets, they need to think about how their systems are architected to support not just what's being delivered today, but how to give them freedom to support what's happening in the future. And so I think as an organisation, our heritage is in security. That's our fundamentals. We're obviously, been in the conditional access business for a long time. I think that gives us a good pedigree and great foundation to actually look to address challenges for not only the distributed multi-screen, content business that we're in today, but markets like 4K in the future, and being able to kind of conceive ways of protecting the content, not just today, but 5 years from now.
How do you offer that? How do you support that? Given there's the potential for a lot of forklift and a lot of changing out of things,
Sure.
and how do you make things easier going forward?
I don't think you do, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, because I think one of the changes that we've seen in the last couple of years is a move away from the operator community being dominated by a couple of vendors that basically control an end-to-end proprietary platform. I think the environment in which we operate is an environment of market pressure, right? It's very market driven. If you don't provide a compelling, high quality, cost effective service, then you're in a position where you're likely to end up having to compete with somebody else for that business. You don't lock yourself in to that market. So I think the environment in North America, especially in which we now find ourselves, is actually an environment that we're actually very comfortable with and very used to operating within.
You, a while back, took your cloakware technology and turned it into kind of a cloud-based support system for kind of what we're talking about. I think from the standpoint of being able to update things, stay current, and you called that Active Cloak. Mm-hmm. Does that get into addressing the kind of things we're talking about now?
It's certainly a piece of that. So, I think we look at our Active Cloak for Media product as a means for protecting end devices. So, we've done a lot of work with some very large customers in North America around protecting applications running on Android devices, iOS devices, connected TVs to a lesser extent, although we're anticipating to see growth in that area. Games consoles especially. So yeah, that's very much an area where we work with a lot of very large operators to provide a mechanism for them to provide end device protection so that those applications can't be compromised, that content can't be outputted and delivered to, for consumption in a free and clear format.
When it comes to let's look at this from the programmer side and the fact that so many networks now are looking to get a direct-to-consumer relationship, not in violation of their relationships with their distributors, but also not just relying strictly on the distributor, the cable operator, or whomever, to provide that environment. In other words, if you're an authenticated subscriber, give that subscriber the option to get your channel, your network directly online. That would seem to me to put a lot more onus on the content suppliers than they've experienced up to now in terms of rigorous content protection. Are you working with some of these people? Do you see some of these trends evolving in this direction?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that's been very good for us in the last few years is we've really played both ends of the continuum. So we have some, very important relationships with very large operators in the MSO operator community, but at the same time, we also do a lot of work in the content space. So we have a lot of work through our, BD Plus initiative, through our anti-piracy work, with a lot of the large, content developers to provide them intelligence, business analytics, business intelligence around anti-piracy, where that threat's coming from, how they might shut it down. And so I think what we're starting to see is kind of two ends of those continuum start to come together in the middle, which is allowing us, I think, a unique perspective to basically kind of better understand both sets of needs and architect and deliver solutions that actually kind of assist both sets of parties get to where they want to get in relation to content protection. It
makes them easier to talk to each other when it comes to doing deals and understanding what their mutual needs are.
Absolutely, and often their mutual needs are, often they're not actually mutual needs at all. They're very, very different needs. And again, I think the unique perspective for us is understanding those individual needs and trying to find a way to map them together in the middle. And I think we've done some good work so far at helping to kind of bridge some of those gaps, and I'm hoping that we'll be able to continue to do that and get smarter and stronger on both ends of that continuum.
Well, we certainly expect you to be able to do that because we want to see this market evolve, and I know what you're doing is pretty important to that. So thanks a lot, Richard, for taking the time to speak.
Hey, you're welcome, Fred. It's always nice to chat.
Okay.
Thanks.